Folks, hear me now. We are repeating Q3 and Q4 of 2022. What does that mean for buyers and sellers? It is time to ask for seller concessions. Looks like Redfin just put out a report, and Matt the Mortgage Guy's done 10 to 12 deals. We're going to talk about what's going on. How many folks are getting seller concessions? Mr. Matt the Mortgage Guy, what's going on?
I was surprised with this stat. Thanks for having me, Mike. And I know from my personal business, and I'm in the weeds of it every single day, that back to back to back to back. And I was telling you before we got on, probably 10 of the last 12, some sort of seller concession. And it's really ramping up as, the seasonality of real estate is a real thing. There's less buyers around in September than there were in April and May. There's going to be less demand and buyers in October and November. So if you're a buyer, this should give you a lot of hope. Year to date, Redfin says that 40% of closings that have closed have had seller concessions. That blew me away because I
40%?
Yeah, I know that number increases the later we go in the year.
That's, it's really, so again, they're, just so I understand the number, they're saying 40% year to date. That's what they're saying.
And granted, I'm moving 100 miles an hour. I'm getting secondhand information. So through my game of telephone, I don't know if I'm missing something, but that was the stat I heard. So I'll verify it. Either way, right now, here we sit in September of 23. I can promise you, because I'm doing business in 48 states. Go to greatmortgagebroker.com to connect with us. Quick shout there. Seller concessions are being granted, 752 with 17,000 in credit. A latest one, we got 12,000 in credit for a 2-1 buy down. The one I can just rattle off my head.
But this is what I want buyers to hear, right? I've always, we're repeating the 2022 playbook, and buyers are disappearing. There are sellers that have to sell. Sometimes getting a seller credit versus a straight up price reduction is better for you, the buyer. Yes, I said it. Getting a $17,000 seller credit, which is real cash, is better than getting a $17K discount. Because if you got a $17K discount, you're still putting a lot of cash into the down payment. You have to understand this. You got to work with professionals. Because again, the seller doesn't care if it's 17 grand off the price or 17K in closing costs. But you, the buyer, you probably do care. That's why people have to work with professionals like you.
Yeah. And here's what I'll say, Mike. I will present options and put them side by side. And you, the buyer, tell me, do you want to pay $735 and pay X amount per month? Or do you want to pay $752 with 17K in seller concessions? Same net for the seller. They shouldn't mind it. For you, what we're able to do with the 17K in concessions is say that payment that we looked at, take $800 off in year one.
People need to hear this.
Off in year two.
Think about this. You could pay, in this case, 17K more sticker price, get a significantly lower payment year one, a lower payment year two, and maybe lower year three, depending on where rates are in this scenario. This is why working with loan brokers is so important, because it's not one size fits all. Your credit profile, your down payment, your history, your story. And you, the buyer, buyers probably buy 1 or 2 houses their life. They got to work with the professional that's doing 10 or 20 of them a month to get the scenarios right.
And that's the thing. Everybody is different. And this is like, I did a YouTube live on Monday, and I'm trying to, answer questions and give advice, but I can't do it at scale because there's so much nuance. Every single deal is going to be different. I've got a buyer who is putting 3.5% down and they're buying for 500,000. Their issue is not a lot of cash. And so what we do, we use the 10,000 in reserves. We don't lower the payment in years 1 and 2. We basically pay for all the closing costs. So now you're 18,000 out of pocket. You're 3.5% down and not much more. All the prepaid property taxes, homeowners insurance, title fees, lender fees, all of that is covered by the seller. And so you're in your new home $18,000 out of pocket. That's much more important to this buyer who
Right.
only has $25,000 total than saying, hey, how do we wiggle and get you a $400 savings in year one? Because that's another thing. We can do a 1-0 buy down, a 1-1 buy down, a 2-1, a 3-2. Like, there's endless scenarios. The best mortgage brokers have seen enough to know that when you give them your information, they can sit this is my exercise. I sit in my seat and I pretend like I'm you, given all the information I have. Here's what you make. Here's your total cash reserves. Here's your monthly payment. Here's what's important to you. The more information we have, the better we can advise. What I want people to hear, if you hear nothing else in this, is do this exercise to a certain extent where you analyze the numbers and get real with yourself. What I'm finding right now, Mike, more than anything, is that people are still emotional. And at a time where affordability, payment, everything matters most, people are like, I've rented for 17 years and I'm tired of renting. I'm going to buy. I feel that and I agree. Like, you don't want to just rent your whole life, but you still have to stop and look at the numbers. And sometimes, people are blinded by emotion, or they're just like, I'm going to buy. Okay, slow down for 10 minutes and have a conversation with somebody who can explain the numbers to you. And, then we get really, really creative and it's fun. Agent, buyer, lender, let's create something that works for you.
Yeah. A lot of great stuff here, folks. Again, we're repeating last year. This is good for buyers. Get the credit, figure out what is best for you in your unique situation. The only way I know to do that is work with a loan professional that's going to look at the scenarios, ask you a bunch of questions. Matt, they want to come to you. How do they do that?
Go to greatmortgagebroker.com. Quick win. Somebody from the ORAC community did that. They filled out the form. I called them on a Saturday. We did this exact exercise and we talked through cool ways to structure a deal. Went out, got himself 17,000 in concessions. Like, when I'm doing these and somebody's like, hey, hate to bother you, can we look at another scenario? I'm like, you're not bothering me. This is fun. This is what I like to do. It's like asking me to go play basketball. Sorry to bother you. Can we run another game? I'm in. I want to play.
Let's go.
Yes, let's do it. So greatmortgagebroker.com. We're happy to help.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good week.